What's going on, everybody? My name is George and welcome to the channel. On this week's video, we're still working on the +6 beam. We're gonna install our shock towers. We're gonna cut some gussets. We're gonna weld the gussets in place. We're gonna put everything on the beam that needs to be on there. And then we're gonna be working on the hook and rod system. That's what these are for. 2 7/8 rods also gonna go in there, and we'll all get into that once I get to that point. So at any rate, let's get started. So we have the welding table cleaned off, and we're going to be working on these. These are the uprights for the shock towers. These do have to be tacked in place and welded, and I really wish I had a turntable for these because it would make for a really nice weld, but unfortunately I don't. So we're going to get these tacked up, then we're going to get them tacked onto the beam, and then after that we are going to put on our steering stabilizer mount and our steering box stops, or pitman arm stops, however you want to call it. I'm not really sure what it's called, but anyway, we're gonna get that going right now. We are spraying these with anti-spatter. Probably shouldn't keep that up there, even though it's not inflammable. Well, it didn't come out perfect, but, well, my welds aren't perfect, let me say that. But mount hole placement is good, and what we're going to wind up doing is TIG welding the inside of this, and that should seal up the inside so I don't have to worry about anything rusting. I'm sure that it'll last a really long time, and I'm not afraid of that breaking off at all. So we did manage to get a lot of stuff done yesterday. We got the uprights welded. These are totally welded on. The only thing left I have to do to weld on here before I can put the bearings back in are the gussets that are going to go on the sides. And those will look like this. And now I just have to create 2 of them. And we're going to do that with the Plasma 45. I absolutely love this little machine. And this is not a paid advertisement. It's one of the best tools that I have in my shop, because when you need a plasma cutter, you need a plasma cutter. And it works great. So one of the things you want to do, you always want to inspect your tip before every time you use it to make sure that, you know, nothing's gouged or the hole is enlarged. Check your drag cup, make sure you don't have worn spots on it. But what I wanted to mention was, anytime you have a run that's fairly long, you should always clamp something to your work so that you can run it right up against the drag cup, and that'll give you a nice, clean, straight edge. So without any more BS, we're gonna get at it. grind it, clean it up, but I got to duplicate it, so I'm not going to waste you guys with that, but we're just basically going to flip it over and run it on the opposite side, trace it out, and send it. So as you can see, one is just a hair bigger than the other. We did line these up on the table and we tacked them in place. So basically, I'm going to take a flapper wheel and we're going to run this edge so that they are both identical. I do still need to cut this out, so while they're tacked, I'm actually going to hit it with the plasma cutter one last time. But I'll do that last. And that's it. We'll get back to you shortly. And there you have it. They are perfectly symmetrical, so it's not going to really matter which side is which. And I like it. I know it's a bit overkill, but I'll never have to worry about it. So now that we have the trailing arms installed, the spindle is in place, the new ball joints are in, the clearance ball joints, mind you. What we're going to do now is we're going to work on the hook and rod system. And I've kind of already put a mark on there where that rod is going to go. And I came to that conclusion by using the largest center punch that I have. And we've set these rods, the hook up, and just kind of where it's going to sit at the bottom, and then scribe the line on there. We've done that on both sides, and that gives us our intersecting point, and that's where the rod is going to go. The rod that comes with these is 7/8 of an inch. So let's get this drilled out and see what happens. So I've gone ahead and I've punched this out, and I actually found I'm trying to think what size, a 3/4 by 1/2 inch, and I put my 1/2 inch center punch in there so I can actually set this on here. It's a little bit better than what I had before, and by setting this on here, kind of eyeballing it straight, you can see that my marks are a little off. So when I do the same on the other side, that's the mark. You see where it hits this point? We need to bring that up to where these lines intersect. And then I will transfer this information to the other side, because the other upper control arm is kind of missing some stuff here. So I did pick them up at a swap meet, and the price was right, so I can't complain. I picked those up at Dubs in the Shrubs. So we'll hit the top hole, which is right, X marks the spot. Well, that's what I said last time too. took several attempts and several drill bits to do it, but finally got that in there. So let's get that set up and get it welded in. So now that we have that hole drilled, that 7/8 hole for the pin, or rod rather, we're going to ensure that that's bottomed out on the ball joints. So now that we know that that's bottomed out, we can take our pin, make sure that we are straight. If it's not straight, it's darn close. So because we're bottomed out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this on here and rotate it, set it right where it's going to be. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a mark right here, like so. I should have just left it at one line, but that's close. All right, so we can't actually tack it in place right here because it is bottomed out on the ball joint. Let me see if I can zoom into that. So you can see there that that line is marked up. So what we're going to do is we're going to move it ever so slightly off the center, probably about halfway. And that's going to give me an 1/8 of an inch gap here. Not in this direction, but in the other direction. We'll have to move these a little bit and we'll actually have it something like so. Just so I have an 1/8 of an inch play so that it hits the stop before it bottoms out on the ball joint. So let's see if I can get this to move. So you can see where it was, and now we have an 1/8 of an inch gap. So we're going to tack that in right where it's at, right there. This way, if I do come off the ground or the front end comes off the ground, it's not going to bottom out on my shock or on the ball joint. It's going to bottom out on this hook and rod system. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our rod stops, hook and rod system. And then you can kind of get a visual on how that works actually. This rod wasn't in the way, but you get the idea. So we're going to wind up TIG welding this with 332 ER70S, and we'll see what happens. I don't know how this is going to work out, but we're going to find out here shortly. Well, it doesn't look great. I didn't want anything sticking up to hit the seal. So I think we may hit that with a blending disc just to take any high spots off of it. But not looking too bad, I guess. So we need to weld these off real quick, these pins. And we're gonna set these at 1 3/8. And how we came up with that, I've actually pulled it out already, but I set my spring plate in here, the torsion, and it was actually sticking out from the edge at 1 7/8. And I'm gonna show you that right now. So if we do the 1 7/8, well, let me show you over here actually. If we do the 1 7/8 to center of the pin, you'll see we have like 1 1/4 to the top of the hook. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough room, so I added 1/8 of an inch. So that gives me 1 3/8. Now I have to cut the gussets for the back side of the pins. Now we're going to tack these together and then grind them so that they're identical. And now we'll grind this down so that they're both identical or symmetrical, however you want to say it. And we're going to set them in there. Well, we still need to weld this off, but these plates are going to hold that pin just in case anything happens. And as luck would have it, I didn't get any footage of me tacking or welding the pins in place or the brackets for those. They have been welded in, and the beam has been painted because it was starting to show some signs of rust. So I did spray that with the rust reformer, and I had a couple of cans of black Rust-Oleum appliance epoxy, and we shot it in that. And I've used that before. I've used it for many years, and it's great paint. It works great. And that's going to do it for this week's video. I do believe this video is going to run a little longer. I haven't edited anything yet. Matter of fact, I haven't even uploaded any of the videos that I've done. So I'm pretty sure I have about 2 hours of video to squeeze into 10 minutes. A lot of that's high speed that kind of narrows it down quite a bit. But at any rate, should be one more video install, and we're going to get into the spring torsion packs on how to do that for a +6 beam or a +4 beam. I'll explain all of it in the next video. But until next time, y'all be good to one another, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.